What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for another Tottenham update. We got Sai in the house today. How you doing, Sai?
Yeah, good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, I mean, the transfer window is rocking and rolling. Spurs bringing in transfers daily at the moment, and today is another day in, well, I'm about to say paradise, but it kind of is a paradise in this transfer window at the moment. But Micky van de Ven is the name on everyone's lips at the moment. Mike from the Telegraph out in Holland says that Micky van de Ven has agreed personal terms with Spurs with a contract until 2028. Wolfsburg want around 40 million euros, and the final transfer fee is expected to be around 35 million euros. Fabrizio Romano says that Tottenham are speaking to Wolfsburg about Van de Ven, negotiations ongoing. Both Tapsoba and Van de Ven remain in Tottenham's list, and talks were both ongoing. John Cross says that Tottenham are set to sign Micky van de Ven for a £30 million deal, with the two clubs left to finalise the final details. Ali Gold says that amid Spurs' very strong interest in Van de Ven, no agreement is in place as of yet. And we've got an update from Chandler ITK. I mean, I don't usually bring up these kind of ITK updates, but I've been following him this transfer window, and he's been getting everything kind of spot on. So I thought I'd add it into this update. And he says, Bayern are asking for 50 million for Tapsoba, which leaves Van de Ven as the main option for around 30 million. Not done yet, but progressing well with personal terms agreed a while back. Wouldn't rule out a move for Tapsoba, but that one's more unlikely, and Van de Ven probably will be the final signing before the departures start to happen. So how are you feeling about Van de Ven, Si?
Yeah, good. I mean, these positions centre back are like the biggest priority for us in the window. I know like every summer we have this whole like, oh, rate the window, all this kind of stuff. And like the one thing that's been missing over the years, and I like hand on heart say, like since Toby and Jan, we haven't replaced them. Like Christian Romero is a fantastic defender. Okay, didn't have a good season. No one did in the last one. But also they say you can't polish a turd. Look who's playing with. You know what I mean? So he's going to be dragged down anyway. So I think we need to have that world class type player. I'm not saying these guys are fully world class yet. Obviously, they're still developing and everything in their own way. But these are kind of characters, driven characters that we need in our team. It's the piece of the puzzle that's missing the most. We've got the Maddison. I'm sure there'll be a couple other areas to fill. Goalkeeper is obviously one. But for me, the last few years, centre back, honestly, because we leak the goals. We're not strengthened at all in that area. We've had some temporary solutions. They've been pretty poor. We still have players there for some reason and somehow are still playing week in, week out, but purely because there's no one there to replace them with. So, I'm welcoming this, and it's great to see some like top player names linked with us for once, rather than crazy weird ones that become traffic cones when they start for us. It's something we have to sort out. I don't care about the other positions. Well, obviously I do, but if we don't get these sorted, it's almost another failure to me. So that's why I'm not excited yet. I want to see one of those through the door. One of those names you mentioned.
I can't disagree with you, to be honest, but it's hard not to get excited when you're hearing Micky van de Ven agreeing personal terms and agreement between the clubs pretty much close, very close. And in terms of what he'll bring to Spurs, he's a left centre-back that can also play left-back, and that is music to my ears because we need someone that can play. Because with Ange, the way he likes to play is one fullback bombing on, one inverted fullback. So Van de Ven can fill in that inverted role from the left-hand side with Porro bombing on. And on the right-hand side, when Adoji's bombing on, you can have Emerson on the right-hand side. So it's giving us a nice little balance on both sides. But apart from that, he'll give us the left centre-back role that we've desperately needed for so long now since Vertonghen has left. He's like one of the paciest centre-backs I've seen for a while. I think he was clocked up as the fastest centre-back in the Bundesliga last year. He's got aerial ability. He's got elite ball-playing ability as well. So, I mean, this guy really looks like he can be the heir to Jan Vertonghen's throne.
Yeah, that's it. Exactly what I said a minute ago as well. Since those two were playing for us, Toby and Jan, they haven't been replaced. It's so obvious. Obviously as a Spurs fan, as an outsider, that is the case. And I think, to have that option, that versatility is absolutely huge. In any kind of like modern team at the moment, you always have a player that can operate in two various different positions at different times. And I feel like with Porro and a few others that have been coming in, in drips and drabs, we have started getting to that kind of position. So to have that in the back positions is incredibly like something we just needed massively. So as I said, we need to get one of those through the door. Hopefully these words of agreement actually come into fruition, actually stand by what they're saying in the media and everything to do it. So again, as you said, with Ange's like position, tactics and everything, this is something really important. And the teams that we've watched over the last 2-3 years, it's just like they don't know what they're doing. They don't know how to operate these kind of different systems. Or if someone goes forward, what am I supposed to do? I don't know where I'm standing, where I'm supposed to be. And you're like, how long does it take to figure that out? We actually need players that understand that notion that I might have 2 or 3 responsibilities in this team in one game, not just like sporadically. And I think that's incredibly important. If we're going to start getting back, I'm not suggesting we're going to go top 4 straight away, but if we want to get to that level again and quicker, we have to have that. And these are the exact type of players that can bring that. No disrespect to Lonley and some of the other players, and he might be going back, so I'm not going to say too much. But again, it's just like that ethos, that philosophy needs to just be eradicated. Get rid of these slow players, the players that are not switched on. The amount of finger pointing I saw last season was ridiculous. Like not knowing where they're supposed to be, blaming others, and it's the morale in the game is horrendous last year and the last few years. So I just want to see a driven pair of centre backs that will come in, play with Romero or alongside them in a 3, whatever it is. I don't care. Just to have that caliber and know-how of a player in their mind in the team is crucial. We have to do it.
Do you think that a partnership of Van de Ven and Christian Romero can come close to what we had with Toby and Jan?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you remember when certainly Jan obviously was there before Toby, and you could see when they came in, it was almost not necessarily at their peak, but it was transitioning into that area. And they were so pacey. They knew where each other were. Obviously helps when you play with each other in the country as well. But it was just that understanding. And more than anything, they weren't captains, but they were leaders. And I truly think like Romero with his charisma, his bite as well. And that does rub off on the team sometimes also, to have that aggression and that intelligence. And then to have Vin next to him, that's the icing on the cake for me, to have that. I still think we would need another one. We need another one to be either a backup or, as I said just a minute ago, that transition to a different formation. Just to have that variation is really important, and they have to be Romero's level or higher, because otherwise you may as well just keep the ones we've got, and they haven't worked for 5-6 years now, maybe longer in some cases. So for me, I think you hit it on the head, Ben. I think these two are you can't compare people to Jan and Toby because they were so unique and so amazing for us. I hope that this new partnership, whoever that might be with, does relate to that at some point. It's not going to be an immediate thing, but every strong team, every winning team, or everyone that's in that strong position in the table has got a specifically robust and unique centre back situation. We have to get to that to do it. So I think it's going to be massive if they come in, or at least one of those players comes in, and we will get as near as possible to where we were a few years back in that that solid defense that we used to have.
Yeah, absolutely spot on. So as I mentioned before, they're saying Van de Ven will probably be the last signing before the departures, and then we'll start replacing people that leave. In terms of the departures, Spurs are getting a lot of interest apparently in Davinson Sanchez, Giovanni Lo Celso and Sergio Reguilon from outside of England, and we'll work on replacing them after sold. If all goes to plan, he says he would expect another centre back or 2 plus a number 8 and potentially a left back if we sell all 3 left backs, with Sessegnon getting interest from the Championship and the lower Premier League sides, and some Saudi clubs are sniffing around for Lloris and Perisic. So it's important to get all these players out. And, we've wanted a number of these players out for many years. And suddenly now the interest is starting to clock up a little bit. Do you think maybe the interest has always been there and Daniel Levy maybe hasn't been willing to sell them for as cheap as maybe he's willing to do that this year?
I think it's a bit of both. I think it's a bit of that, and I just think it's a lack of strategy, honestly. And I know that he's been bringing people in. I don't know if Steve Munn's there or not, and I know there's talk about cheaper
Started July the
football.
1st.
Yeah, so I can start to see there's a bit of a change of mentality, and maybe Daniel has stepped aside, which is probably a good thing. I full credit to his business acumen; is unbelievable. Commercial areas and stuff, but as a football situation, it's not good. It hasn't been good for a long, long time. Maybe some argue 21, 22 years. So there's this principle that there's the stat last year, 250 odd million pounds worth of players, albeit they're not worth that much, let's be honest. But they, in regards to how much we pay for them, 250 million pounds worth of players out on loan, which is ridiculous. No other club in the world is that ridiculous. And I think as some of these players come in, I'd like to see some of them given a chance, or at least to be understood. Can they work in this? Can they revitalize themselves in a new system or a new team, a new manager? And I'm sure maybe we'll get some of those answers in Australia. I'd be very surprised if those big batch of players didn't at least go to Australia and get trialed out. But I do get this feeling over the last few years, some of them perhaps haven't been up to it in training, or we know when they've been playing, whether it's the wrong system or tactics, whatever, they've just not responded in the way that they have on the YouTube videos that we watched them before they started and how they played in previous teams. Brian Hill and all of that, they actually played well on their loan periods last season. It could just be
Brian Hill. I think
yeah,
Andrew like him.
yeah. I think there's a number of them. I always like Lo Celso and everyone in snippets. Sometimes I'm like, what are you doing? But there's loads of variables going on, and actually, right, if we are starting from scratch, you need to give some of these guys an opportunity. And I think, of course, there's a few players there that have been with us a long time. I will personally drive Sanchez to whichever airport it needs to go to get him where he needs to be, honestly, because I
I'll
think
chip in petrol for you if you want.
Yeah. Any donations, guys, whoever's watching this, there'll be a link below, donate and we'll get it done. But jokes aside, I'm all up for giving players, time, but this is just some of them are just stupid. So I think it's just getting to a serious point now. The reflection of last season was an embarrassment. I know some bigger clubs or whatever, in their own right, didn't do well either. But for us, the way we've just declined over the last 3 or 4 years is unacceptable, considering the growth pattern that we had with everything, towards Pochettino's end of tenure and stuff. So I think right now it's very apparent there's change, and it's an opportunity. Exactly what you said, Ben. Is like some players may have not been shifted because Daniel just don't want to lose the money. Sorry, from an asset worth value perspective, no businessman wants to do that. So there's that understanding, but equally, I think there's also positions in some players running out of contract in the next year or 2 years, whatever. That helps significantly, and it's one of those grab things. It's like when Dembele went, and it was like, oh, do we take 10 million now or lose him for free in the summer? They took it stupidly. But there's some players there we like, some of Hugo has been an incredible servant of this club. Yes, went a bit downhill the last few seasons, age, injuries, whatever the excuses. But the service has to be commended significantly. Who will be a hero for us for forever. But there comes a time where you're like, can I cash in right now and actually survive some of that money elsewhere? It's maybe frees up. I can imagine it probably frees up quite a bit of wages as well. So I think the timing is just right now for this summer to go, we've had this stupid circus for the last few years. It's now time to be deadly serious and get this sorted. And we're starting to see that. But we've seen this in a couple of windows. I'm not jumping up and down yet. I just want to see the proper intake of players that we need, and the ones to go out. We know the list. It just needs to be done and done fluently, and have the replacements ready. Not sell now, wait till the last week of the window. Go, oh, we tried. I don't want to hear that ever again. That's gone. Like, don't give that excuse. It's not acceptable.
And like, I commend the transfer business. I'm really liking the transfer business at the moment, but a lot of people think potentially all this transfer business done so early is a bit similar maybe to when we sold Gareth Bale and when we brought in the
Yeah.
the Magnificent Seven or the Beatles or whatever you want to call them. And next we're going to talk about Harry Kane and Plettenberg saying that Bayern Munich are in direct contact with Tottenham, and Karl-Heinz Rummenigge is leading the talks. A new offer is planned for the striker. Kane only wants to join Bayern and has been convinced by technical director Marco Nepe. So first of all, do you think this deal is happening? And if this deal is happening, do you think that all these signings are to supplement that man leaving the football club right now? Or do you think there's just two unrelated topics?
Partially unrelated, but equally, I would not be surprised if that was the case, because history tells you that with our club's owners and the way they conduct stuff. However, even more recently with Winks going out, I felt that went really quickly, and there was an argument to say that actually it was a bit of a discount off Maddison. The convenience of the same club involvement in 1 week. It's obvious, but just from the calculation perspective, they have to do it separately. So there's an element that things like that are already being done. I think it would be crazy if we went, and did all this work and sold our talisman. To be honest, like when was the last time Harry Kane did not score more than 20 goals in a season? I don't think he has, to be honest. So, at the end of the day, Bayern is a fantastic club, I don't know Harry personally, but from everything that we've known over the last nearly 10 years, is that he is a record breaker. He loves the Premier League. He definitely wants to be taking that. Even the dog agrees with me. Lily knows what's going on. And I think even like, even if, Harry, if Harry went to Bayern, he removes that opportunity to get that top leading goal scorer record in the Premier League. I think that means something.
He could come back though. He could come back in 2 years and still
absolutely play. He could come back, but then he's nearly 30, and I think he will play to his 37, 38. To be honest, maybe even beyond that. He's that Ronaldo-esque aspect to it. Hasn't obviously won and accomplished that much, but in terms of the professionalism, the physicality, etc., absolutely spot on. Great role model. But yeah, I don't know. I would anticipate that he would join another Premier League team just to keep that consistency of the record. You can't rule anything out, obviously. I just can't really see him going abroad at this moment in time. I think he'd want that record first and then go. But the question would be, is that at Tottenham or is it at another Premier League club? Which, that list is diminishing. I'd be surprised if Man City came in anymore. United is a credible opportunity. Newcastle maybe in a few years' time, maybe not now. So I think it's all about ambition, isn't it? He's always come out and said, irrespective of media and his crazy interviews that he's done in the past, his number one kind of go-to comment is always about, as long as things are going in the right direction and I can see that happening, blah, blah, blah. Maybe he's just going psychotic like we are as Spurs fans. We just keep believing the same nonsense every year. But he does have that mentality. He obviously loves Tottenham. He loves us as fans. He loves the club. And that's a massive testament to him as a person. But, it would be pretty depressing for a player of his caliber not to win anything. We all want him to win something at Tottenham. How realistic is that? But I just can't see. I just can't see Bayern or an abroad move happening. And these might be famous last words. Please do receipt those, Sean, if you're watching.
I also thought that as well, that he won't go abroad. But the more these reports come out, the more I'm kind of believing it. But look, I think we're going to have to leave it there. But the news on Harry Kane is that he only wants to join Bayern Munich this summer, and Bayern are going to come in with another bid. So we'll see how those rumble on. I mean, the main takeaway from this video is that Spurs are in advanced talks with Wolfsburg for Micky van de Ven, and personal terms have already been agreed. The heir to Jan Vertonghen throne, people. But Sai, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Ben. Lovely, mate.
And
good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too. And we'll see you all very soon. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.